is the Trees and Green Infrastructure Committee meeting for, let's see, it's October 11th, 2024 at 10 o'clock. Oh, actually, we're going to start at about 10:07. Welcome our panel here. We have a couple guests today, and we're going to try to get through this meeting relatively quickly. So I'm calling it to order. I'm going to have a roll call. Ms. Downs?
Catherine Downs.
She's here. Okay.
I'm here.
Susan Gay?
Here.
And Jennifer Duncan?
Here.
And the chair, and we have a complement of a quorum. Okay, so anyway, first order of business is if anybody had a chance to read my deathless prose of the minutes of the meeting. If anybody's got any questions, can we have a motion to approve these?
Actually, I wasn't there, so I can't make it. I was going to make a motion, but
Okay, well, that's okay.
I read them, liked them, but.
Okay, well, I think you can say so. Anyway, so,
I wasn't here either.
right,
Okay,
So-
then I guess the two of you have to do it.
we can do it,
Yeah.
right? Okay. You were here,
Okay.
okay. And I was here. Okay, so
And then you can.
what do we do? Can you make a motion?
You
or-
did, just,
Okay, you made a motion, I guess I'm going to second it.
and then the two of you.
Any
vote.
discussion? No.
Okay.
I'm going to say aye to approve.
Aye.
Okay, we've approved it, okay. It's the best we can do. As far as I know, we don't have any correspondence, so I wanted to launch in first to we receive a quarterly update of the activity in the Commemorative Tree Program, which we can elaborate at some other time, but
no, I can
yeah,
give
well,
you a
unless you
very
want to do,
quick
when you want
update.
to do a little preamble.
Well,
let's-
it's just
go
a
ahead.
quick update, because as you say, we get a quarterly report. So in the, third quarter, I guess, we got 7 new donations.
This is
Between
exceptional.
July and September, and a total of $2,700 to bring our total at just over $70,000, and I think there are about 110, 120 donations now,
Okay.
total.
Have any of the trees been planted?
Well, it's one
That's what
thing
we're going to talk
we're
about
going to talk
next,
about.
yes.
Okay.
There were not any planted last year because it fell in the time when Liz was leaving, and I don't know that there's a plan to do them this fall, but we're going to talk about that.
Okay. Let me see, donations. All right, well, I think that's really good.
Yeah, I'm pleased.
Okay, so, and I will say that we had some other discussions relatively just to how this is working with regard to the city, and how the city accounts for it, because I don't think you see it. I'm going to invite our direct, I'm going to pronounce your title, which is involved. Planning and Community Development Director, Mary Ellen, and we're gonna, we invited you here so we can maybe discuss some of this stuff somewhat candidly, hopefully. And anyway, we have this program which was going on for 3 years?
No, it started in the fall of 2019, so it's been 5 years.
5 years, wow, okay, we're having fun.
Yep, time flies.
And as we just learned, has accumulated about $70,000. But in terms, and I think there's some conditions on that, primarily for planting of trees and maintaining trees and so forth.
Well, it's only for maintaining the ones that have been planted as part of the program.
Right, okay. So, in the past, at least as far as we have experienced this, the city arborist, which is unfortunately now a vacant position, or we're hoping to fill it, and you can talk about that, but would usually set up a schedule of trees, and I think in the last couple of years, it's been predominantly street trees, or the planting of street trees, or trees on city property, and we're just want to kind of get maybe a follow-up or an understanding maybe, or how the city's approaching it or something. So I don't know if you can elaborate on that, or if we can talk about that, to how you intend, if in the absence of the city arborist, I mean, is there something that we're, what's that? Who's that?
Oh, it's me, I'm
Is that
sorry.
Dan Fogelberg? No, no, that was my joke, I'm sorry. Anyway, we just kind of want to talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah,
So I'm Mary Ellen Gray, City Community Planning Director. So first of all, good news is that we had, as of today's Friday, Wednesday, we had an accepted offer for the arborist position.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's great.
So Michael Lilly is his name. And he will be starting, we don't have a definite date yet, but middle of November.
Where is he coming from?
So at a local, Allendale.
Okay.
And he currently works for Belterra, and very experienced, kind of young, but we're very excited to have him come on board.
That's
So-
great.
So very
that's cool.
excited.
Oh, man.
So certainly I'll be handing this program over to him when he gets here. But I have to be honest, I have not done any work on this since I've been here.
Okay.
But be happy to when Michael gets here to start working with him on earnest. Because I understand you all are gonna talk about plans for some planting. So I think this would be a good time to reinvigorate this program and get going on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Is there time to plan anything this fall, or are we really talking next spring before anything can go in the ground? I mean, it's kind of late, mid-October. I mean, it's not too late to plant, but by the time you decide on them and buy them and all that, I don't know. Can we do any this fall?
Well,
I would defer to the, as far as when is the best time to plant?
I mean, we can certainly plant now, but we don't want to do it when the ground is frozen.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, the window is closing, but I mean, it's still fine to plant in the next few months. I mean, up until probably at least the middle of December.
Okay.
If not, I mean, we don't have really hard freezes
Right. Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as the plant material is available, we can pretty
Oh,
much
that's another.
plant.
Okay.
I would, of course, defer to you as the experts, but I would prefer just to hold off, let the arborist come in, and then there's no need to rush. I mean, why not wait until spring and then decide exactly the good places to plant the trees in whatever type of trees you want to plant.
I mean, that's up to them.
I mean, that certainly sounds reasonable. I mean, because it sort of seems like at this point in time, it would be a rushed
Yeah.
job. So we would be
And it would be
basically,
a matter of picking what's left.
Oh,
yeah, there's a
yeah,
good
yeah,
selection.
That's true.
There's probably a fairly good selection left right now, but if we wait till November and then, it's going to take, a few weeks for that, then, we're at that point in time into December, and that would be, it would basically be a rush
Yeah.
thing. So waiting till the spring and having the winter to sort of plan on what's going in and where and would be a good thing.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I do think we should be emphasizing canopy trees to the extent that we can. I mean, I know the last plantings that were done in the fall of 2022 were on Delaware Avenue, and those were obviously street trees and therefore not canopy trees. But in the pictures that I had sent to Mary Ellen and to all of you that Andrea and I took last weekend over by Lake Gerard, there's plenty of room there for some nice canopy trees that would shade the street too. So I think to me that looks like a great location. And if you look both east and west of First, I mean, you could probably put 8 or 10 in there, and I'm not sure we would do that many at once or that many in the one place, but those are good spots. So I was pleased that she showed them to me,
Okay.
you know, so.
Let me see. Was there any other, I'll take a question from the audience. If you want to.
Is it-
You got to stand at the microphone.
Is it on?
Jan Conisty, Oak Avenue. One of the things that I would be concerned about right now, of course, is, we haven't had rain in ages.
Yeah.
And
Well,
everything's very dry.
Right.
And secondly, I mean, the trees that were planted for Arbor Day are dead.
Yeah.
At least one of them is over at Central Park.
They were taken out, I think.
So, if we can't take care of them, then why plant them? And that's kind of a thing, that I have seen, and I mean, Elise and I have walked by some over by, a Lake Drawer and 2nd Street that have been dead, that are dead. I don't know if they're gone yet or not, but if we can't take care of the tree, then we don't need to plant the tree, because all we're doing is,
Well, all right. I'll mention, at our last meeting.
that's what people are paying all that money for.
Yeah, well, that's true. At our last meeting, we had a discussion about activities of this group, and one of the things that was sort of high on the list had to do with some kind of watering program that we might, as our committee, could possibly organize and administer somehow to try to take some load off of the city, having to do some of that. Hopefully, we can coordinate that with the city arborist or something like that. Just because we have, I mean, I think that's one of the great untapped resources of the city, because we have a number of people with some free time and actually want to contribute in some way. And I don't think it would be that onerous, especially when we have trees that are near water, with like the lake and things like that, that I think we could use that somehow, to come up with some kind of way of doing that. So that's definitely on our list, because, we see that, going around, all that kind of stuff. Was there any other specific comment or questions or comments that we had?
Well, the only thing I'll say is when Liz was doing the new tree ordinances for the fee in lieu, flat fee that was put in, she put $1,200 in as the amount that it cost to buy, plant a tree, and maintain it for the first 2 years, meaning watering for the first 2 years. So if that's going to be the cost, per tree from the program, then I don't know why we would step in and do the watering. If the company that plants it really should
Right,
do that
right.
early maintenance.
But I was saying about existing, streets
Well,
that have
then
already
that's,
been,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
that's different. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and we could reduce the amount per tree, and if we were to water, and then we could get more trees in. But, I mean, there's obviously, frankly, I think the coordination effort of getting volunteers to water is not going to be easy.
Well,
Something like herding cats.
Yeah, well, despite people's willingness, just from what we've seen before, it sort of, when we had to do it at the school, because those trees were planted for a couple of different Arbor Days, and they frankly they wouldn't take care of them. They just wouldn't do it. That's not my job, kind of thing. So we had a member of our committee that went out and bought a hose, and we took turns. I should say they. I don't think I did it more than once, and watered the trees that summer. And it's the only reason they survived. But it's not easy.
yeah.
Okay, it's not easy to coordinate schedules like that.
I was thinking more in terms of a bucket brigade.
Oh, and by the way, the advantage that Andrew was showing me, the advantage to the trees on a lake is that there's a pump nearby. There's 2 of them, I think.
Oh, really?
There's a water source right there.
That's what she was saying, because she talked about that to me at some point in time. She said that would be a good place
Yeah.
for some plantings. I mean, we could plant things like Nyssa sylvatica and more Magnolia virginiana, things that like soil that's close to water.
Oh, okay. All right.
So are we also going to talk about the mapping thing then?
Yeah,
So on the projects? Okay, go
I
ahead.
was assuming you were going to talk about that as well.
Go ahead, yeah.
You want to do it or you want to do it?
No, you go ahead.
Well, I messed it up when I brought it up at.
Oh, well, you didn't mess it up. I just didn't want to,
No, go ahead.
well, what Monkey's referring to is that at the commissioners' meeting, when the mayor asked if the dots on the map were going to represent specific trees of specific donors, he said he thought that was the idea, and it's not, but only because that's the whole idea was to get away from any direct designation because of the problems that have been encountered with the plaques that are on the ground all over town around trees. And people, kind of become very possessive of both the plaque and the tree. And sometimes the tree has to be taken out and people get very upset about that. So when Liz first came up with the concept of this program, which I think was actually, probably about 8 years ago, she envisioned a donation program that would fund planting of trees but not have the outside plaques. And then the committee took the concept and developed the sculpture that is in City Hall, that is downstairs in City Hall, and the leaves and the donation levels and all of that. And it's obviously thriving. The leaves go on that tree every month, and it's great. But we also, a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, came up with a plan that it would be nice to have a map of the city online with little icons, maybe little tree icons or dots, doesn't really matter, of where the trees have been planted, so that somebody who wants to see what have we done can see, in an instant where they are around town. And then we would put a list of the donors on the side, and ideally a little thumbnail image somewhere of the type of tree. It doesn't have to be the actual tree, but a thumbnail showing what that tree might look like at maturity or something. And we had started down that path when I was a commissioner, when I was chair of the committee, and I got far as we needed in those days, and probably still needed approval from the city commissioners to embark on any project involving staff time or cost. So I worked it up into a proposal, and it was approved in July of 2022. And it has stalled because I was under the impression that the IT department was just overloaded with other things. They were working on a redo of the zoning map, and I haven't seen that, so I don't know what the status of it is. The CDP was in the works. There were a lot of things that they were working on simultaneously. So that has not advanced, but again, it's something, and I'm certainly open to making it as simple as possible to just get the thing up there. It really would be nice to show people this is where your money has gone. And, it would have to be updated, obviously, with new plantings each year and with the names of new donors, probably quarterly. But, I think it would be a great part of the program.
Yeah, and I think, to continue or to perpetuate the program.
Right.
Having that aspect that, that there's a public component to it and a, sort of a recognition component and all that, I think would really help it.
Right.
So, I will, now that I have this information, which I didn't have when I was at the workshop meeting, I'll talk to Evan about it and just, tell him what's going on, and we can kind of hopefully move forward on something like that.
And I
maybe
hope
complete
there's
it.
still a list somewhere. I had in the proposal that there were 28 trees already planted. Actually, it's probably 38 now because of the ones on Delaware Avenue. But Liz there'd be somewhere in the city file showing what and where, right? Because I can tell you where they were, but
That would be awesome. I have to be honest, I have not found that list. I have
okay.
looked.
And Liz is she still doing some work for us?
Yes, and
We could ask her before she
I
heads off.
I have.
Okay.
And she told me where it is, and I still can't find it. So,
Okay.
but I will circle back with her.
Okay.
Okay.
It's somewhere. I just
Right.
just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, so 2 of the locations are Delaware Avenue, street trees in the fall of 2022, and the other is on Lake, out here, by the breakers. And that was the year before, it was maybe 2 years before, that might have been 20. But I know I'm missing at least one of the locations, and I don't know where the other one was.
Okay.
But,
Or
yeah,
I'm
And I don't want
confident
necessarily-
it's somewhere. It's just,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
it's not looking in the right spot.
And I'm not trying to dump this on you, if we can come across or something like that, I can take it from there or something like
That'd
that,
be
if that's helpful. Okay.
Can all work together on it.
All right, we are, hold hands. All right. Okay, anything
No,
else?
that's it. I just
think
wanted
that's
to
it,
just get that
okay,
jump-started
okay,
again. It
all
would be
right.
nice to get that.
So I was gonna, we have 2 items of new business that we just want to touch on, and just before we get started, this issue came up, Jan Conacy, who will be joining us, brought this to our attention. And, we're not looking at that, I'm looking at this, kind of narrowly with regard to how this affects tree protection and like the tree side of things. There's other aspects to it, which it's not in our purview or anything, but I just wanted to share this with the committee. Having Mary Ellen here, I think she's aware of it, but I mean, it's just, I just wanted to make that, known. And it seems like a problem, there's a number of sort of unanswered questions about it, which we can talk about as we get going, but I don't know if you want to, can you fire this thing up, or do we know we can fire this thing up? And this involves, I'll just say ahead of time, a construction matter, Jan's immediate next door neighbor is building a house, and it involved driving of pilings to retain the earth in the digging of a foundation, and it was, well, you can take it from there. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that we discovered when working on this project is that we thought that the code, and I talked to several people, who had been on the tree committee, and everyone thought that the code protected trees during construction, but that's not true. It only protects the trees on the property being constructed on. And as we all know, there are trees along property lines all over Rehoboth. So these are not great pictures because I'm not very good technology-wise, but I wanted to show you a little bit about how,
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you mean, okay, so Bunky, you said they drove pilings into the ground to preserve the soil.
Well,
That's
I
not
think hopefully
exactly-
she's going to show us a picture which kind of illustrates, kind of
In
what
other
took
words,
place.
for whatever reason, and I didn't want to go into that. I just wanted to talk about the trees. We are not in a flood zone. We're on the second block of Oak Avenue, and we are actually probably 9 or 11 feet above sea level. And for whatever reason, the contractor building a house next door to us determined that he needed to drive pilings. And the pilings, unfortunately, I can email you all personally this thing, and you can see the pictures yourself better. But the pilings were driven by a crane, and right along the property line. The fence is
Can you pull that up? I mean,
I can't do anything other than what is showing you.
That's good
right,
enough.
well, it's
That's
good. I'm
enough.
just-
Okay.
You have to eliminate that none of your preferred networks. That needs to come off.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Cancel it? Okay, all right.
And let me ask you, if you click on the picture, can you make the picture bigger?
No, I tried
You
that.
can't do, all right.
No, I
that's
can't,
fine.
and again, Jennifer,
Yeah, I just have want to get it clear in my head. This is about, the code does not protect trees that might be affected during construction that are not on the property of the owner doing the construction.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. So it's too late for us. Our trees are going to be gone. Maybe not. But you can see the pilings are steel and they're, 30 feet long, and they put them in the ground and they do it by vibrations. And typical of Delaware, it turned out that the owner of the company, the crane company, was our next door neighbor when we were first. So he was keeping Ken, and our house, of course, is 6 feet away. So he was keeping Ken updated. And they had a great deal of trouble drilling through our roots. And in fact, they exceeded their vibration allowance. And
Like that's kind of illustrative, that they drove
So-
these piles
So-
down,
So,
which eventually, well, we'll get to that, but I'm going to, as it's to the right where you have the barrier, that's getting excavated, and then they put planks, large pieces of lumber between the piles to hold back
But it was done in.
to hold back the exposed wall.
So as the pilings are going in, like we have, our next door neighbors have trees right at our property line. In fact, one tree splits us. So as the pilings are going in, they're beating up the roots of the trees.
They're breaking.
And that is killing the tree because it's breaking the roots.
It's going right through.
Potentially, I'm just saying, it's a
Potentially.
higher likelihood, I think we
Well,
would say, it's going to harm the tree. That's-
Well, the pilings went through, and that was on they finally finished on a Thursday. So Monday, they came back and they had, if many of you might remember the children's book, Mike and the Steam Shovel. They have what I call a steam shovel, but it's now
an excavator.
excavator.
Thank you.
I'm outdated in my language. And the excavator then took out all the dirt between the pilings and right up to the fence line. And we asked him, can you go up to the property line? And he said, the city has given us approval to go to the property line. So what roots didn't get ripped apart by the pilings were then ripped, because they went way down deep. They put in the boards in between each of the pilings, and I'll show you. And then they fill the dirt back in between the fence and the pilings, which is about 19 inches. So we had cypress trees, the arborists there come, and I have some pictures in here of the cut-up roots and everything. And because, fortunately, he said, if these were oaks or maples, and this is what concerns me, because we have a lot of oaks and maples in Rehoboth, and it happened over on Henlopen Avenue when the ocean outfall was put in. And they just went right down. They didn't involve the arborist, and they cut roots of oak trees. So what the arborist told us was that if these were oaks and maples and not crepe myrtle and river birch, he would have had us cut them down immediately. Because the roots were cut on the far side, they would have fallen on our house. And these trees are about 20 years old. So crepe myrtles, he said, let's take a chance. This was before they dug with the excavator out to the fence. He said, let's take a chance. There are some things that we can do, and I have a treatment plant from him. The river birch, they think has pretty deep and wide roots, and they think that might make it, but they're not sure. So in the rest of these pictures, and I apologize, if I was more technical, I would have known how to do this better. But all the way down here, you can see the roots. And then you get that one there, where the fence is. Actually, I'm standing on the second floor taking it down, so it's at the wrong angle, but it shows the dirt that was all dug up by the excavator.
Well, can I ask you, why did they put the
Ours is not to determine why, okay? We have 8-foot basements in every house, all around them, across the street, everything. I have no idea. So, Katie, I don't know. This is only the third time in my understanding that it's been done in Rehoboth in the last 8 to 10 years in a non-FEMA flood zone. If you're in a FEMA flood zone, it's a whole different ballgame. Then FEMA determines the pilings, where they are, how hard the house goes. One was put right on Prospect Street. That's a FEMA one.
I just don't understand why it was right along your fence. But I mean, that's beside. Yeah, I just don't understand why the barrier or the pilings were dug adjacent to your
Well,
fence.
we
and
were
not
under the impression that they had to be within the 6-foot setback. See, the other thing about the setbacks, that's another thing I would say. We changed them in Rehoboth so that they are 16 feet, no less than 6 on one side. And the idea was to be able to save trees. They had a tree that was along the fence there. Liz gave them approval to take the tree down on their side of the fence, but didn't worry about our side of the fence. So I guess what I'm saying, and I'm going to get down to the, you can see now, in fact, if you come by, you can see that the part of the area of the perimeter of the basement has no pilings, and that's because the people next door on the east side, all of their solar panels are slanting down in that section. And if they had done digging the pilings, the vibration probably would have knocked them down. The dirt has been there for 2 weeks now, and the wall is perfectly straight. There's no dirt falling in. There's nothing happening. So I think the dirt would have stayed. But I don't make these decisions. All I'm concerned about is that as we go through, if this happens more in Rehoboth, and even if it doesn't, if it's regular construction. I mean, I heard a guy one time on Henlopen Avenue. He said, I went home in September. I came back in May, and all the trees along the property line were gone, and there was a new house. But he said, they were my trees, But he wasn't here, and the city didn't require protection of trees. So my thing to you all is, I think you need to amend your ordinance to not just address the trees on the property being constructed, but on addressing the trees surrounding that property.
Right.
And they should all be protected. I was really concerned when they told me about, if it was oaks or maples, they would have already cut them down. Crepe myrtle is a crepe myrtle, and they're not very special trees or anything. But ours are old and they're big, and we've never cut them back, and they're very tall, about 20, 30 feet tall. So we'll wait and see what happens. And the same with the river birch.
But if they were oak and maple trees, and let's say you weren't here, you're in California, and you don't know this is going on, and you come back, and the pilings are in, and the ground is all straightened out, you wouldn't have any idea that those trees need to come down.
That is an interesting point, Jennifer, because the city also has no notification requirements. So
maybe there is a notification requirement needed as well.
There should be notification. I mean, we notify when they're tearing down a house, we notify partitionings, we notify, Board of Adjustment, but we don't notify on this that could have a serious impact upon your house. I mean, I won't go into everything, but what I'm mostly concerned about is that, I happen to like trees, or I wouldn't live in Rehoboth probably, and I think that in all good faith, that everyone thought that trees were protected during construction, and then I found out, like that night, that they weren't. That only the trees on the property. So my request to this committee is that you look at your ordinance and that you put something in there, edit it or tweak it, amend it to include trees that are on neighboring properties. Because our assumption, if they had been digging within the setback, then we would have been fine. But the city considers pilings temporary structures even though they're left in the ground after the basement is dug. They cut them off around the frost line, and everything's left in the ground. So I don't know that my neighbor, you might know, Katie, better than I, whether they can plant trees, because the pilings are 19 inches from the fence, which is their fence. And so I don't know if they can plant anything. I don't even know if they want to plant anything over them.
On the, by the retaining wall?
Yeah.
Or what is going to be a retaining wall?
Well, the retaining wall, the boards probably won't, they'll take them out because they're going to build a foundation and then
I have
backfill
no
the-
idea what they're
Right,
going to do,
right. So
Bucky.
the only thing.
I didn't know
potentially is
the pilings were left in the ground either.
So well, we don't know that the boards are gonna stay in the ground.
We don't
but
know
they-
they're going to stay in or leave. We don't know, Bunky.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
we
if
don't know for sure.
if they take the boards out, then yeah, trees could be planted there. I mean, the roots will just adapt. They would
They'll
hit
go
the-
around the pilings
would-
and everything.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
And
What's the frost line
How far down is it?
here, roughly?
oh gosh, I don't even know anymore. It used to be probably 6 or so inches.
Yeah,
Oh, so they're not cutting them way down then?
for a fence, when you're putting in the
Post?
post,
Yeah.
it's at least 6 inches
Oh.
down.
Oh, see, thank you. I had envisioned they would be cut down about 10 feet or so like that, but not accurate
It's not
then.
like Alaska.
Oh, it's
So-
just like 6 or 8 inches down. They're going to cut, that's
So,
it.
so back on the focus is, there is nothing in the ordinance that notifies surrounding neighbors that construction is going to be done that may affect your trees on your property.
Well,
Because the trees from our, roots from our trees and roots from our neighbors' trees come all the way over into
Exactly.
our
Yeah.
walkway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, our roots go, well, obviously, I mean, trees don't obey property lines. They go where they need to go.
They don't.
So,
They're in violation.
I have one sort of practical question, and I know this happened as a result of the pilings. I know that we don't know how many more houses will be built with pilings, but does non-piling construction, to what extent does non-piling construction, just building a basement, affect neighboring trees? Is that also sometimes
Well,
an
I
issue?
mean, any time that you dig in the ground at all, you're ripping up roots
Right, okay.
of trees.
So any
and
construction
plants.
that's a few feet away from a tree can hurt it, no matter whether it's a
Well,
piling or just a
yeah,
construction.
I mean, the thing is, if you,
I mean, ordinarily, I mean, it's a practice thing, but, you know, the closest you can be is 6 feet, you know, so, I mean, and often it's maybe more than that. A
Yeah,
lot
but
of
that's the
times-
setback, not the digging area.
the digging
well,
area,
the digging
the
area
city
can
allows
encroach
over
it.
digging, so
Yeah,
it's not the digging
Digging
area.
can go to the property line, right, Mary Ellen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really the issue.
And I didn't know that
Yeah,
either.
I'm not sure I knew that till recently either. but-
I didn't know that, but I mean, I have seen fences fall in because of digging, you know, neighbors' fences fall in because of digging.
Yeah.
And what happens in those cases? Does the person doing the building have to repair it?
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't
Well, it depends
seen,
whose fence it is.
yeah, it probably depends on how much of a stink the neighbor
Yeah,
makes,
well,
to be honest with you. I mean, but, I mean, it seems sort of wrong that digging for a foundation, I mean, this is something that doesn't necessarily have to do with trees, but I think it's pretty wrong that digging, I mean, even if the foundation is in a certain location, digging can go all the way to the property line. And then, you know, to just disregard what's happening on the neighbor's property. I mean,
Well,
that just,
I wasn't going to get into that, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep this germane.
No, I wanted to
uh,
keep this
ge-
truly
germane
just
to-
on
to the
the
tree
fact
protection thing.
that, of tree protection, because, I mean, we planted these trees 20 years ago. We had crepe myrtle bark disease. We've gone through, you know, expensive treatment. The trees are fabulous. They're in great shape. They bloomed this season. You know, all of the bark disease is gone. And, you know, it couldn't look better. And then the river birch, which I'm particularly fond of, it's a messy, horrible tree in so many ways. But it's pretty and we like it. And so, you know, that's what concerns me. And our whole backyard landscaping is built around the river birch tree. So, you know, we profess a tree, that when we want to save the trees, and we do want to save the trees, it's just a little tweak in the ordinance probably
Okay.
And I think, Bunky, some contractors, and I would say I just saw a house across from, the one across from Nan Hunter's house. It was a disaster. I mean, there are good contractors and there are not so good contractors as far as concern about the neighboring property and the neighboring trees. So, so that's my request, is that you all look at the ordinance again and that you tweak it. It shouldn't take more than a sentence or two
Right.
to add that neighboring properties. And I think, we all learned something. I had no idea that you could dig to the property line. And I don't think anybody does. And on the other side of the house, that's where they put the, 6 from 16, that's 10 feet over on that side. They didn't dig to the property line. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay. And thanks for bringing it to our
So,
attention. Anybody have another comment?
so she's bringing up that notification should be provided to surrounding property owners. And then there's something to do with digging to the property line. But then on the flip side, being the devil here, if I want to build a house and I want to put a basement in, and my next door neighbor's roots of their massive oak tree have come over into the middle of my property, our lots are so small, I still should be able to build my basement. So it's
Right.
very,
Right. I mean,
it's a
again,
very
that's another- to me,
interesting,
that's a whole other different consideration.
it's a real dilemma.
Yeah, right.
It's
So-
it would be a tough needle to thread.
Right.
To have people be able to do, to feel like their rights aren't being violated,
Right.
and all the way around.
Yeah. And I assume, I'm just going to throw this out there, I assume that the idea of having the retaining wall is a safety issue,
Well, in
you're basically-
actuality,
Yeah,
in the city of Rehoboth,
Yeah.
since whenever Larry and Joe's house was built on Silver Lake, which is about 2018, somewhere around that, 16, 17, 18. There's been one other on Hickman Street across from Donna Mabry, the third block of Hickman, and that was, I won't even go into the details on that one. And then there was, this one. So this is the third one that is a non-FEMA. Lewis does not allow any pilings in a non-FEMA flood zone. And that's, so in Lewis, it would be Cape Shores, all along the bay, they allow them. And we don't really control them in any way, shape, or form. Typically, when you dig a basement, you do not dig to the property line.
yeah.
So there are things, there are ways. And that's why you all, when you did the tree ordinance, if there was an oak tree, then you could have your setback, longer or wider on that side. So that's really, it's really, and the notification, I mean, I don't know how far in advance we notify about Board of Adjustment and stuff like that, about 30 days. I think there's a sign up in front of the house. 15. But people should, like the people that live around, that live behind them, they haven't been here for the entire summer. They have no idea, and if there's damage, their basement is their kitchen. I mean, they have this really, kind of really cool house, and they don't have any idea. So they may come down and have cracks in their foundation, and they won't know where they came from. We only knew about it because we were, when the house was torn down, we asked the contractor when they were going to put in the basement because we were getting our windows washed and our house power washed, and we didn't want to do it with all the dirt. And he told us, well, we have to wait till the fall to drive pilings. If he hadn't have told us that, none of us would know. Literally, we would not know at all until it happened.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm gonna
So that's
thank
another-
you for coming and
thank you.
sharing this with us, and we
Ann,
will.
do I just disconnect everything?
So that's another issue, pilings.
Right.
Why are we putting
Well,
pilings
but
in?
it doesn't really pertain to
non-flood
us.
zones.
I mean,
No,
that's
but
another
it's
issue. I mean,
something that should be
part of it,
raised
but we're not,
somewhere.
I'm really just want to focus on the tree aspects of it, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I have another item here on the agenda. And another thing, I just want to ask Mary Ellen, I mean, did you want to comment on this or not? I mean, I didn't think it was you know, if you want, great, if not, you know, but I just wanted to, we were having it, so I thought you can help, you know, take a look at it or whatever. And this was just sort of a continuation of what we talked about at our last meeting about any other activities. One thing I want to mention, I'll share with you, I had a conversation with Andrea Huffman, one of our members who couldn't be here. Did you know she's going to Chile?
Yeah,
in the winter, yes.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about the restaurant, the country, you know,
Yeah,
and,
for several
and,
months.
Her sister lives in Chile.
and it's a very long country. I learned a little bit, anyway. But she's gonna be gone for like 2 months.
Yeah.
So she's not gonna be around, what, January, February, something like
so,
that?
yeah.
So anyway, so that's another, well, anyway, the main thing she shared with me is, there's been sort of a change at the elementary school. The person, Jackie, who, I don't know Jackie's last name. I don't know if we know. Kissel, okay. Was sort of her contact, and she has since gone to another school, and I don't think there's anybody there that has sort of filled in the void, you know, of her absence with regard to what she did as far as Arbor Day was concerned. And I think there's some move afoot for her to have a meeting or something like that with the school principal and see, anyway, so it sounds like, you know, I'm just summarizing here, that our previous activities are kind of up in the air at the moment. I mean, it's conceivable that they may continue the thing with the art part of it, the art show part of it that we have in the lobby here, and maybe the commemoration and the, you know, the thing that the mayor does, whether any of the other
We
stuff.
have to do that in order to be a Tree City USA.
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
but any of the other sort of festivities that we've had and the planting of trees and all that kind of stuff, that's yet to be
Well,
determined.
this will be something the new arborist might have some ideas
Yeah,
about,
yes.
so it's a good timing.
Right, right. But again,
need to
you know,
plan it
it's
starting
like,
in the
how, you
early
know,
year. Yeah.
we were never, I don't know how that sort of came about. I mean, I mean, I think it's a good kind of PR thing and all that, but, you know, the city can do, there are limits to, you know, what the city wants to do. We understand that, you know, but, you know, I think it has been a supportive thing that we've done and all that. Anyway, yet to be determined, like Phil, you know, watch this space, but anyway, that's, that's, we don't know, yeah, at this point what's going on. But Andrea has sort of been the person that has spearheaded that over the years, and, you know, I think she's still willing to do that, but we don't know.
But she won't be here in the months where we're planning ahead for it.
Yeah. So
But I think it sounds like based on the personnel change at the school and, you know, depending on where the tree for Arbor Day would be planted, we talked about this when I got together with her last week,
Right.
it might be too far because the school will not bus the kids over here for the program, so
Yeah.
they walk.
yeah,
And in years past, they have walked, you know, to City Hall or whatever, and they can do that. But if we're asking them to walk to, you know, Lake Gerard, it's that much further, takes time out of their day.
right.
They're not likely to do that. So it sounds to me like because of the personnel change and given where we might want to plant a tree and given what the city might do as part of its commemoration that day, that the prior program is going to undergo some changes.
Correct.
yeah.
So I guess it's to be continued.
To be continued, but we don't know. And I don't know if there was any other topics or whatever. We kind of got in a lot of different spaces, you know, in our last conversation, but that I touched on in the minutes, you know, from the last meeting. But I think, you know, we're still kind of in this limbo situation with regard to the committee. You know, all the other committees have not met in the last couple of months. I mean, this is like the only meeting, and we haven't met either. Our last meeting was in June, so I don't know where we're kind of headed, but
That's to be continued too, I guess. right?
yeah, I think so. So
Keep watching the space.
okay,
Another
keep-
unresolved issue in the
yeah,
city.
right. But thank you, Mary Ellen, for joining us and everything. It's nice to have you, and I appreciate you took time out of
Nice to
your
know
day.
about the new arborist.
Yeah,
That's good.
so-
Very
We're very
encouraging.
excited.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
That's
All
good.
right, well,
Okay.
I think we're at the point where I can, there's no citizens, well, you've commented plenty,
Yeah.
so you're done. But anyway, I'm going to adjourn the meeting now at 10:55, and thank you all for coming today.
Okay, great.